In less than a week's time, this historic presidential campaign season will draw to a close. So with just days remaining until most Americans head to the polls, Hillary Clinton has an edge in the electoral college math, though this race could still go either way. The Real Clear Politics polling average has Donald Trump trailing his Democratic rival now by 2 points. You can see here Trump at 43%, looking up at Hillary Clinton's 45%, though the election could be decided by just a state or two, and really to whom the candidates appeal in the next few days could make a huge difference. Let's bring in CBS News Elections Director Anthony Salvanto at our elections board with more. Swipe away, Anthony.
Swiping. I will swipe towards Pennsylvania, Josh, because that right now is Hillary Clinton's key. She's up in the polls there, and it makes her electoral math a lot easier if she can hold on to it. Let me tell you specifically why. She does very well not only with the African-American vote in Philadelphia per se, but also with college-educated women and moderate voters who live in the surrounding suburbs, and that helps her carry the state. Let me show you. If you zoom in here on Philadelphia, right, massive lead for Democrats. This is 2012, where Barack Obama won the state. You get 85%, but what you really do is you run up the tallies. You get a huge number of votes, more than 500,000 votes out of there. She needs to replicate that turnout. But then you go to the surrounding counties, Bucks County, for example, and the biggest one, Montgomery County, where Democrats add to that lead. Here again, the suburban, the moderate, college-educated women. Hillary Clinton has a 20-point lead with them in the polling. That would add up to enough votes that even if Donald Trump does well as expected throughout the rest of the state, and you see just how red that is, that should be able to carry her if the polls stand up, and then Pennsylvania in turn becomes critical to her electoral math, Josh.
Now, as critical as Pennsylvania is for both, it would seem Florida is at least as important, which is to say, does Donald Trump have any path that does not include Florida?
No, he does not. He has to win Florida. Let me show you what the key is there. Right now, you're going to see a lot of red if I look at Florida in 2012. The key here is, can Hillary Clinton get enough turnout down around Miami, Palm Beach, Broward, down here in South Florida, that will hold up even as Donald Trump does well throughout the rest of the state? Another good example, Miami-Dade County. Obama won 62% of the vote. When you see counties light up, including on election night, it's not just who wins them, it's who wins them by how much. So if Hillary Clinton can't match that, she's going to have a lot harder time winning the state, and it will tilt towards Trump. And then if you go up north, up towards the Panhandle, you see a lot more red. This is where Donald Trump has to do effectively the same thing. So that's why Florida right now looks like it's pretty much a toss-up, because we're getting through the early vote. That's running about even. It's running about even geographically, and so that's where Florida comes down, Josh.
I want to ask you about some reporting from our Major Garrett, who spoke to many within the Donald Trump campaign about essentially a hidden vote and the math behind it. Essentially, they look at each state, especially these battlegrounds, and they believe this: that there's 2 to 3% of a low propensity voters, the ones they call the silent majority, who are out there, who are not being counted by pollsters such as yourself. There's another 1% that they look to as reluctant Republican voters who by next Tuesday will, however reluctantly, cast their vote for Donald Trump. And then they point to actually another 1%, just folks who kind of want to be on the right side of history. And if they think that Donald Trump's going to do it, they're going to get their vote as well. Suddenly, so they say they see 5 to 6 points out there in these states, which obviously, as they stand today, could make all the difference.
Well, this hidden vote idea has been one that's run throughout this campaign. And what they're saying is there are people who don't take polls and don't show up who are going to show up. Well, so far in Florida, let's use that as an example, we've seen a lot of early vote, and so far those people haven't shown up yet. If you look at the early vote in Florida right now, it is overwhelmingly people who have voted before. They voted in 2012, they voted in 2008. So you look at that group of people, and it is about 2% or just 2% of the entire state who could come out and vote really for the first time, even though they've been sort of waiting around and not participating so far. We're not seeing that come out yet in the early vote. If Trump is going to win, he probably needs a sizable portion of those folks to suddenly storm the polls on Election Day. Not there yet. And the second thing, Josh, is that the polls in the primaries, a lot of people thought the same thing would happen, but the polls in the primaries were right. They did very well at getting that Donald Trump vote, so it doesn't appear that people who support Donald Trump are shy about it. They're talking to their friends, they're talking to their families, and they're talking to pollsters.
Boy, I know some folks within the campaign itself that do hope you are wrong. CBS News Elections Director Anthony Salvanto, for us, as always, you're so right.
We'll see.